the tea, Lou. It is, of course, Sunday of international break. And you know what that means? That means there is absolutely diddly squat happening. Not a thing. Nothing exciting. No tea to be spilled. But don't you worry. I am on it. I have found us some things to talk about. And not just things. Good things. Fun things. Interesting things for us all to talk about on this lovely Sunday afternoon. Welcome to the people who are watching live, but also welcome to the people who might be having a beautiful Sunday lie on and are going to watch this later on. Please do smash a like on your way into the video. That would be much appreciated. It tells YouTube, I like this tea party. I want to see more of it. Others might like to see it too. So it really, really helps the video and the channel to get out there to more people. I am currently making sure that I have put my phone on mute because obviously I hadn't, because I never do, because I'm an idiot. But it's done now. So, for the people in the chat, welcome, welcome. Please do come say hi. Guess is here with her lovely cup of tea. Boffman is in the house. Flossie's running slightly late because the boys are at the groomers. I would just like to let everybody know, when Flossie says the boys are at the groomers, she is referring to her dogs. They are at the dog groomer. Just for people that don't know, Flossie has lovely dogs. Actually, if you go on Flossie's channel, she has some lovely videos of her lovely dogs. So just in case you like that kind of thing. We all love a wee animal. But yes, so the first thing I want to talk about, and it's not actually in the title of the video, because I feel like if I put it in the title of the video, all the haters out there wouldn't come. They wouldn't come and say hi. So the first thing I'm going to talk about is Sene Lamans. Some of you will remember we had a discussion recently on this channel about Sene Lamans, about his ability, about how good he is, about how important he is, about what a player he is, and I wasn't taken very seriously. I was told it was my Manchester United bias. In fact, I'm pretty sure someone literally said, that's your Manchester United bias. And I was like, no, do you know what it is? I actually think it's a lot of rivals Manchester United bias, if I'm honest. I don't think we're biased for Sene Lamans. I think a lot of people are biased against him, because I think if he was doing what he was doing at United, at another club, say a Brentford, like Weaving Kelleher, or a Wolves, or a team that people like, I think he would be getting absolutely lauded. But because he's doing it at Manchester United and people don't like us, they don't want to say nice things about him. I actually think it's the rival bias is what's happening here. Because last night, the save that Sene Lamans made for Belgium was absolutely sensational. It was fantastic. And he has been growing and getting better and better and better, match on match on match. And I'm not going to drop this. I've been talking about this for months. I'm not going to drop it. He should, at the very least, be in the conversation for signing of the summer. I am just not having it. But you don't have to take my word for it about Sene Lamans. You don't have to think he's fantastic. That's fine. It's a personal preference. But Kevin De Bruyne agrees with me. And he knows a little bit of something about football. So Kevin De Bruyne, when speaking about Sene Lamans' performance for Belgium, said, "We didn't play with Thibaut Courtois today, but we didn't feel his absence because of Lamans. We call him a Courtois regen. He makes the most unexpected saves. There's been a difference in Manchester United's defence since he joined." Now, between me and Kevin De Bruyne, I mean, two football geniuses, how can you not take that seriously? I know. But, it's nice, I have to say, it's really nice to see him get some recognition, because I do think that's the thing. When a player plays for a rival or a team you don't like, you are a little more reticent to give them praise because you don't want to say nice things about that team. So it's really, really nice after last night to see him getting his flowers, because he absolutely, just deserves it. Absolutely. Guest is saying, people need to understand we had Onana before this. It's such a massive improvement, a weight off our shoulders. It's so wonderful to have Lomans in goal. No more sleepless nights. Well, yeah, he's a massive improvement on Onana and Bayindir, but I think even if we hadn't had bad goalies before him, he's talented in his own right. He's not like he's good compared to somebody really bad. He's just really good. Like, he's just really good. To be fair, Nathan, so Nathan is saying, I'm a genius because my title is about players faking injury and the thumbnail has Arsenal in it. Well, there's going to be a reason for that, so I'm not just picking on Arsenal for all the Arsenal fans who feel a bit hard done by. I'm not just picking on ye lot, it's just yous have the most players that are coming home, so therefore it seemed a bit weird to put any other team on it. 2 of the players in the thumbnail have come home from international duty to get medically assessed. So I'm not picking on yous. Facts. It's all about the facts on this channel. So that actually brings us nicely, because I wanted to give our Lomans his flowers because he's so good. He's so underrated by rivals, and I'm so glad to see him getting a bit of bloody praise, well-deserved praise after the season he's had. And good man Kevin De Bruyne. You keep speaking your truth. I like him so much better since he left City. And see, there's an example of it. Kevin De Bruyne, when he was at City, now I would never have said he wasn't talented. He's always been a very good player. But now that he doesn't play for City, I can say more nice things about him. And that is the rival bias at work. We have to be aware it's a thing. It's okay to have it. I'm not getting rid of mine. But we have to recognise that we have it. That's the thing about it. But going to Nathan's point. So 8 players have left the England camp for medical assessments. Among them are, and this is according to Fabrizio Romano, among them are Declan Rice and Bukayo Saka, which is why they're on the thumbnail, because, you know, we'll have to put somebody on the thumbnail, and they've left. Welcome to Z. Z is in the house. I'm laughing at you two in the chat. Good goalkeeper, terrible friend, about Courtois. John Stones and Noni Madueke also return to clubs due to injury. Also on the list is Aaron Ramsdale, Tomori, Adam Wharton and Dominic Calvert-Lewin. Now, there's 2 different ways of looking at this, because I have to say, when I first saw this, I looked at it one way, and then I started reading some of the comments like that people have about it, and I thought, oh, there's a bit of tea, there's a different way to look at it. So when I first looked at this, I thought, oh my goodness me, right, if we look at the players that are coming back and for a medical assessment, so they're feeling something, whether it be a niggle or something more serious, they're feeling something to be sent for a medical assessment, okay? So Declan Rice, Saka, Madueke, you know, you've got a few Arsenal players in there. There's more Arsenal players than anybody else coming back. What I would say is, and I don't know because I really just haven't looked at it, is there more Arsenal players that have been called up compared to other teams? So for example, if more Arsenal players have been called up, it would be normal for more Arsenal players to feel these niggles because there just is more of them. The probability is higher, but I don't know that. You guys might be able to tell me. Either way, more Arsenal players than any other team, which is obviously quite significant because Arsenal are in a title race, and if multiple of their players are feeling things and any of them actually turn out to be genuine injuries, it can have an impact on the title race. It can maybe change the trajectory of some of the match results. Some of the other players that really stuck out for me, obviously Adam Wharton, because Adam Wharton has had a really good season. There's lots of talk about him for the transfer window. I know United are one of the teams that are linked to him, but I think City have come in for him now as well. There's a lot of people talking about him. But so he's not going to want to be injured. He's going to want to continue the season on the trajectory he's on. He's going to want to finish the season on a high, because what it does is it allows him then to have more opportunities and potentially a better wage demand because he's played the whole season at such a high rate. Whereas if he actually had a genuine injury here, it may impact what move he gets and how much money he gets for that move. So again, it could have ramifications beyond just this season for some of the players involved. Rob is in the house. Welcome to Rob. But the other player that I thought was really interesting on this list is Dominic Calvert-Lewin. So we spoke, was it last night? Last night we spoke about the relegation battle. We did our relegation battle prediction. We talked about every single match for the rest of the season for the kind of potential relegation teams. We looked at, will they win, draw, lose these matches, and where will that leave them finishing in the table, okay? So we were reasonable with Leeds. We had Leeds to stay up. Now, I don't know about you guys, but for me, when I made a lot of those predictions, I was counting in the fact that Dominic Calvert-Lewin is having such a good season. I was counting in the fact that Dominic Calvert-Lewin was going to be key in some of those matches and that he was going to score them some important goals. So if Dominic Calvert-Lewin is genuinely injured or has a niggle or is going to miss a match or two, which is possible when you look at his history, there's possible that he might have actually got a genuine injury. How much is that going to impact Leeds for the rest of the season? How much might that impact the relegation battle? Because often when people see these things, and it's fair, they think of the top of the tree. They think of the top of the Premier League. They think of how it's going to impact you kind of go in this order. You go, title race, top 5 race, relegation battle. That's kind of the way people tend to look at these things just by default. But Dominic Calvert-Lewin is such a key player for Leeds. Such a key player for Leeds. He was definitely a massive factor when I was making my predictions. I imagine he was a factor when some of you guys were making your predictions. If he's injured, even if it's for a match or two, what difference could that make to the end of Leeds season? So to be fair, when I first saw this, I took it quite at face value. Now, to be fair, I was quite innocent. I took it at face value and I was like, if any of these players are genuinely injured, have genuine niggles, miss even 1 or 2 matches out of only 7 remaining, what impact could that have on Arsenal in the title race, on Adam Wharton for his transfer in the summer, on the likes of Leeds who are going to be in a relegation battle if they're missing Dominic Calvert-Lewin? Bear with me just a sec, folks. Bear with me. Oh, that's okay. Sorry, I got a message and I thought it was I'm waiting on results from something and I thought it was the results. It wasn't. Oh well, that was anticlimactic. Flossie is in the house. Flossie has joined us. Thank you for being here. Nathan is feeling funny today. Nathan says Saka always plays as if he is injured. To be fair though, I feel like, and I don't mean this specifically about Saka, I feel like there are some players who seem like they're just perpetually injured, and that's not a dig. I think some people are more prone to being injured. So I was on the stream with Kate and Jimbo a few weeks ago now about mental health, and I said I feel that some people are more prone, naturally you're just more prone to mental health struggles, and I feel like that with injury. So some people, every time you speak to them, they've got the flu or the cold, or they're like perpetually sick. They've always got the sniffles. They're always not 100% well. I think some people are more prone to like physical injuries then as well. I think it's just sometimes natural the way your body's made up. Obviously, it depends on the way you train, the things you do, you can impact it by the way you behave or the things you do. But I do also think some people just have a more natural affinity to certain things. So if I look, say, at myself and my brother, okay, my immune system is like super good. My immune system is like really, really good. But when I'm sick, it's really bad. But like, I've never broken anything. I've never even sprained anything. Touch wood, that continues. But like, I lead overall a reasonably healthy life. Do you know what I mean? I've no real physical injuries at all. My brother, on the other hand, has had all sorts. All sorts, okay? Like, he has a metal plate in his arm because he smushed the bones so small that they literally couldn't fix them back together. He, like, broke his toe. He's had operation on his eye. He's had other operations. You name it, it's happened to my brother, okay? There's only two of us. I'm overall reasonably healthy. He has everything wrong with him that's humanly possible. And so I do feel that sometimes people are just more prone to it. And so I do think sometimes there are players that feel like they're more perpetually injured. So I'm laughing at Nathan because I know you were joking kind of when you said that about Saka. But I have to say, when I read this list and I saw that Saka was one of the teams who potentially needs a medical assessment, my reaction was, he probably does. Because he probably does have some sort of a niggle. And it's not funny that he's injured. It's funny that the two of us came to the same conclusion completely separately. I always find that interesting because I feel like it's a little bit more genuine, because instead of groupthink where I say it and some of you go, oh yeah, that's true, we kind of came to it separately and then gave our conclusions and it was the same one. So I do find that interesting. Nathan is saying it depends on genetics as well. Yeah, agree. Oh, that's all right. Rob is saying sometimes people forget how much the mind affects the body. Correct, Rob. Absolutely correct. And I think it's not even, sometimes people forget, but I think sometimes people don't realise in the first place. They don't know to be able to forget. I think some people don't realise how much this affects everything else. Your brain is so incredibly powerful. Your brain, like, honestly, it's why sometimes, do you know when you think something's going to hit you or hurt you and you say ow before it's happened, and then it happens and it's not actually sore? Or like when you tense up bracing for impact and then the impact comes and it's minimal. That's your brain. Your brain is telling you that hurts even when it doesn't. So it's incredible how much your brain can impact your body. If your brain is not well, it can definitely affect your body's well-being. Do you know what I mean? So completely agree, Rob, and a really good point. But so I, for the most part, to be fair, took this at face value initially. And then I started reading some of the comments, okay? And I'm going to show you this so you don't think I'm making it up, right? So here are, like, there's the post, and here's the first few comments. Arsenal are withdrawing all their players deliberately. It's Arsenal who forced them to leave and avoid injuries. It's clear as day. Medical assessment. Arteta isn't taking any chances, with a picture of Jose Mourinho for some reason. Arsenal are cheaters and it's obvious they're intentionally pulling out. Arsenal has turned international football to a joke, all because they want to win their first title in 20 years. They're a shameless club, etc. And it just continues. And then there's an example here of a very clear feigned injury, not by an Arsenal player. And Ojaya, I think, says international break should just be scrapped. Arteta saw Madueke injured and said, "Come back home, my boys." And I did think this was probably the most interesting comment, okay? Because at this point, I did sort of think, do you know what? Madueke come out in a brace, and then the next day, all of Arsenal's players have picked up niggles and they need to come home for medical assessments. So I did then think, okay, maybe they're not all 100% legit. There's a possibility some of these players aren't actually injured. But that opens up a whole other discussion, because it's not, while there is a few Arsenal players there, it's not just Arsenal players. Like, there are other players. There's Ramsdale, there's Tomori, there's Adam Wharton, there's Dominic Calvert-Lewin. There are other players that have come back. So it's not just Arsenal. And let's be clear. And we spoke about this the other day. I said, like, Sir Alex Ferguson used to do this all the time. We spoke about this when we were saying the international managers, some of them have come out and said, you're not going to tell me how and when to play my player. You're not going to mess us around. Like, that was about Sesko and Szoboszlai. Like, international managers were kind of hitting back and saying, no, there are players, we have a right to call them up. We're going to call them up and you can't stop us. And we said, well, look, one of the reasons that the club managers don't want them to be called up is because these injuries can happen. It can have a massive impact on the season. It can have a massive impact on the club. You can see both sides of it. And so now Arteta and Arsenal and potentially some other teams are calling back players after quite a severe injury to Madueke if he needed a leg brace, and being like, do you know what? That's enough of that. No more risk. We've got a big end to the season. We need our key players back. So it does make you wonder. I don't think they're all fake. I think some of them. Might be genuine, and some of them might be not genuine. And Nathan is saying, so much for spending 1.3 billion on transfers just to panic over a niggle off Noni Madueke, is so-called big club. To be honest, Nathan, it's not really just about Arsenal. I know there's Arsenal players in the thumbnail, but that's because there's more players from Arsenal than other teams. But it's not an Arsenal stream. It's not a pick on Arsenal stream. It's not, oh, well, only Arsenal are doing this or only Arsenal are faking this. So it's not just about Arsenal, and I'm not going to make the whole stream just about Arsenal because that's not what I want to do. I don't see the point of it, and it's not just Arsenal players that have left, so that's not the direction I'm going to be taking the stream. As I said, there's multiple players from other teams as well that have been withdrawn. What I find more interesting is the argument of, what is the point of the international break when this is what happens? You have 1 or 2 matches, and then all the players get called back from all the different teams, particularly at this part of the season. So at the start of the season, you have 3 international breaks within 3 months. It makes the season stop, start, stop, start, stop, start. There's absolutely no rhythm that can get going. And then you have an international break at this stage of the season with 7 matches left, where titles and relegation and top 5 and Champions League spots are being decided. It is the absolute last thing that anybody wants to do. And obviously, you guys kind of know how I feel about international football in the first place, but I have been looking online at the reaction of a lot of other fans, and a lot of people, if it's there, they'll watch it, but they're only watching it because there's nothing really else to do. There's nothing really else to be at. Like, what else are you going to be doing? We normally have ourselves keyed into football at the weekend, football in the midweek, and when we don't have that for a few weeks, if international football is the only one available to us, some people will tune into that, and you can't really blame them. But if a lot of people aren't really that bothered with, say, international breaks, particularly when it's friendlies, can we blame the players if they're not all that interested? What they want to know is, are they going to be called up for the World Cup? Once they know what their chances are of being called up for the World Cup, I would say a lot of them probably don't really have any interest in playing these friendlies. I would say a lot of them realise, look, this could cost me in my season. Can we blame them? I know the rules and they're not supposed to, and this is the way it is and the proper thing, but can we actually blame them? Like, really, as human beings? Because yes, they're footballers, but they're humans. And if we find it a bit like meh, can we blame them for finding it a little bit meh? So I reckon some of them are probably genuine injuries. I think some of them, and I'm using Saka as an example because he does feel like he's genuinely always injured. Dominic Calvert-Lewin potentially might feel a niggle. I mean, we spoke about him. We spoke about like his sort of, the fact that he's been so available and the fact that he's overachieved based on what everyone expected of him from this season. But there is a potential that he has felt a little niggle. I would believe that. Adam Wharton, I don't know because I don't follow him closely enough, but if he's looking for a move in the summer and he wants to, get through the season with a really good performance and put himself on the map, I can't imagine, there's 2 ways, I can't imagine he would fake an injury to the point where he might not be able to play, but I also think he probably wants to get back without the injury so he can play. So I would say he might be overcautious about playing if he might feel anything. So I would say Dominic Calvert-Lewin, for example, might be more genuine, whereas the likes of an Adam Wharton might be more overcautious. I would say like maybe Bukayo Saka, that potentially to me could be genuine because he does seem to pick up a lot of niggles. Declan Rice, I would say, is potentially a little bit more calculated. Don't forget Declan Rice is going for Player of the Season. He's up against Bruno Fernandes, who was always fit forever. So I would say maybe he's being a little bit overcautious. Obviously, we saw Madueke in the brace. So I do think it's probably a mix. I think there's some really genuine ones, and I think there's some that are going, I'm not sure if I want to risk this before going back to finish the season. So I think it's quite interesting, and it's probably a bit mixed. Nathan has a question that we talked about with our poll yesterday. So Nathan wants to know, do I think the club should have the authority to control the players' availability for their national squad? So we spoke about this at length on yesterday's stream. We did a poll on this on yesterday's stream, and the majority of people, it was very split, but the majority of people said that they feel yes, the club should have the authority because they pay the wages. But there was, I think, quite a high percentage. It was like 50 something against 40 something, and the 40 odd percent said no because it's an honour to play for your national team, and and a club manager shouldn't be able to stop that from happening. Obviously, there is a rule that the club can't stop it, that the international manager has the right to call the player up, and that the club manager can't intervene. That is the law of the game as it stands. I understand both sides. I understand the club pay the wages. The club has so much at stake. The club doesn't want to risk injuries for a meaningless match, which a friendly is. I completely understand that. However, I also understand that it's an honour to be able to play for your national team, and that if you don't play in the friendlies, if you don't go on the international breaks, if you don't train with the squad, the chances are you're not going to get picked for the actual competition. So for me, I see both sides. I think both managers have to do what's best for the team that they manage. I think the club manager has to do what's best for the club, and I think the international manager has to do what's best for the country, and I think that is not always going to align. But I think both have a right to do what's best for the team that they manage. If the player is fit and they want to play for their national team, I don't feel that the club manager should be able to stop them, which is currently the case. I wouldn't change that. Flossie is saying the England players donate their money to charity. What money do they donate to charity? I'm talking about their wages, like their club pays their wages. Do you mean prize money, Flossie? Nathan is saying it's not like the national team doesn't pay. They pay the club's compensation for the injuries, and they also pay the club for major tournaments. That's well and good. But say, for example, here, if Rice, Saka and Madueke are all injured, and it means that Arsenal end up not winning the Premier League, there's no amount of compensation financially that's going to make up for not winning the Premier League after having not won it for so long and getting this close. So I understand, yes, there's financial compensation, but I think in some circumstances, like for example here, if Dominic Calvert-Lewin is genuinely injured, if he misses 3 or 4 of the last 7 matches of the season and it leads to Leeds going down, there's no amount of financial compensation that's going to make up for Leeds not being in the Premier League next season because one of their key players was injured. So I appreciate there's financial compensation, there's the payment, but it's not, I don't think the payment is commensurate with what it might cost the team. Let me see what they earn. So their earnings, the players, what they earn while they're on international duty, they donate that to charity, which is a nice touch, to be fair. And there's a lot of them that do charity work anyway. So obviously Grealish is not in the squad at the minute, but he would give his money to charity. We know Marcus Rashford does a lot of money for charity, does a lot of work for charity. I know there are others too, so it is a nice touch, to be fair. Guess is saying it's a tricky one, club versus country, and that's the thing. The club manager's job is to manage the club as best he can and what's best for the club. That's what he's going to do, and that's what he should do. The international manager's job is to do what's best for the country, and that's what he should do. The fact that they don't agree is perfectly okay because their jobs are different things. Their priorities are different things. So, like, it's actually quite similar to, and let's use Arsenal as the example because they're top of the league. So often this season I have seen Arsenal fans say, rivals are so bitter, they don't want us to win the league, they're saying mean things about us. And I'm like, that's what rivals are supposed to do. Rivals are supposed to not like your team. If they like your team, they're not your rival. Now, you can still say Arsenal have had a good season, they've played well, they deserve to win, etc. You can say nice things without actually wanting them to win the league. Do you know what I mean? It's like me. So I feel like rivals can be really bitter towards United. I feel like Sene Lammens, if he played for a different team, would get a lot more recognition. He doesn't because he plays for Man United. And I find that quite frustrating. But I also do understand rivals aren't there to prop up your club. They're not, I would hope, there to lie either. If somebody's talented, it's okay to say they're talented. But I mean, I can understand why rivals don't want to shower United in praise because they're rivals. They're not supposed to like you. That's literally part of it, is that they don't like you. So the fact that each manager is doing what's best for the team they manage, I think is completely the right thing to do. Completely the right thing to do. They're doing their job. But yeah, look, I think if the player is fit and able and wants to, they should be playing for their national team. I don't think the club manager should be able to stop them, but I wouldn't blame the club manager for trying. That's their job. That is their job. So I wouldn't complain about it. And to be fair, as I said, this has been done through the years by many managers of many clubs and not just in the Premier League. It's been done for years and years, whether you agree with it or don't agree with it. Like, one of those comments there said Arsenal's ruining, what is it? Arsenal's turned international football to a joke. I mean, I think that's a bit mental. First of all, it's not all Arsenal players that have come back. Second of all, I'm sure players are being withdrawn by other clubs in other countries, not just in the Premier League. Third of all, it's been done for years and years and years and years and years. It's been done by everybody for years, so I'm not just going to like slam Arsenal for it. And I think it's interesting because I think it's probably a mix. I think some of these will be genuine injuries and some of them will be precautionary. And I think that's what will be interesting when the season starts back up. Now, even if they have a niggle, like a small thing, they're off for another week. So they might recover in that time and be fine. Whereas if they were still playing on it, they wouldn't. But it's very interesting that it's after a player leaves in a leg brace, all of a sudden, a heap of players suddenly need to go back for medical assessments. That I found very interesting. Now, there is another thing that I want to discuss with you that is not about Arsenal or international football, but it's about Manchester City and Pep Guardiola. Now, this is being talked about for days and days and days, and I haven't really spoken about it because I'm not sure how much I believe it, if I'm being totally honest with you. So, rumours are rampant that Manchester City are going to be found guilty, and that when they're found guilty, they're going to be deducted 60 points. Okay? Now, the first thing is, the journalist that reported this initially is a Colombian journalist and broadcaster, Cesar Augusto Londono. Okay? So, he suggested an official announcement of the punishment will be made before the end of the 25-26 season, which is in less than 7 matches, so it's very, very soon. And he also said that Manchester City will face a 60-point deduction. Now, since he has said this, everybody and their mother is talking about it. All the big boys are talking about it. All the big channels, all the big Twitter accounts, all the big journalists, everybody is talking about this 60-point deduction that's going to happen. Now, the reason I haven't really mentioned it is because I don't know how credible this man is. I don't know how he would know before everybody else. And therefore I'm a bit like, what's the point in talking about it if we don't actually know if there's anything to it? Because we'll spend a week talking about it and then it might not even happen. So, like, for me, sorry guys, somebody is absolutely hammering my front door. Please excuse me for a moment. I will be back before they come through the door to me. Sorry about that, guys. Literally, all I could hear was like bang, 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 ding, ding, ding. And I was like, oh dear, I better go because that sounds quite serious. It wasn't serious. Do you know what it was? It was an Amazon package. And do you know what he did after he hammered my door and rang the doorbell? By the time I got from here to down the stairs, he's already back in his van. He left it at the front door. He didn't need to hammer everything because he was just going to dump it there anyway. But now I'm out of breath from running down the stairs because I'm not a fit human being. So I run down the stairs and back up. I thought somebody was dying the way he was hammering my door. But sure, look, my package has arrived on a Sunday, which is nice. So I'll be playing with that afterwards. Guess is saying, nah, I will believe it when I see it. Be careful, it's City. Guess also says, that's Amazon for you. Yeah, I just, like, he hammered the door. Like, thank God it's a strong door. But yeah, so the reason I was reluctant to talk about it is because I just don't understand the credibility of this journalist. But so many people are talking about it. I was like, right, maybe there is something to it. Let's have a look and see. So I went and I asked the Google AI, because that's what you do these days when you don't know if something's true. So I asked the Google AI, and this is the specific question that I put in. How would Cesare Augusto Londono know about the City punishment before everyone else? That's what I've asked, because that's what I wanted to know. I was like, why do we believe him? I mean, I could put a post out there. Anybody could put a post out there. It doesn't mean it's true. So I wanted to know, why should we believe this man? And so according to the Google AI, yes, we know he's got lots of attention. His specific sources are not public. Several factors contribute to how a journalist in his position might obtain such information before official channels. As a prominent broadcaster with over 1 million followers on X, Londono likely maintains a network of international legal or financial contacts involved in high-level sports arbitration. So that's a bit wishy-washy by my standards. But this one I found slightly more interesting. The timing of the independent commission. The independent hearing for the 115 charges concluded in December of 2024. Following such hearings, findings are drafted by legal experts and King's counsels, creating a window where details can potentially leak to well-connected reporters before the final public announcement. So it's possible this is the part of the process where it's more likely to leak. So it's possible. Now, that doesn't mean it's true, but it's possible. And apparently also through his South American connections. Londono often reports on South American players and their environments. Some observers speculate he may have acquired information through representatives or agencies linked to City's diverse roster. So potentially the club and therefore the players and the agents are already aware of the outcome, which was the hearing concluded in 2024. We're in 2026, so potentially City and their players are already aware somewhat of an outcome, or there's been an indication, and that he's found out through them. Maybe. Now, I would suggest if that much was true, more than him would know. So, I'll be honest, I'm not really I'm not sure if I'm buying it, if I'm honest. I'm not saying it's definitely not true. I'm just saying I can't find a single reason for thinking that this is definitely true, or that it's really reliable, or that, like, I'm not seeing it. Do you guys, have you seen anything? Do you know anything? Maybe other people have done more deep dives than me. There's more information. Do you guys, have you heard any information on why he would know this? Have you seen any speculation on why this journalist would be more aware of the outcome before everybody else? Have you seen or heard? Do you guys have the tea? Do you guys have the tea is what I want to know. Because on this one, I don't have the tea, and I don't know about the credibility. Like I said, I don't think it's definitely wrong. I just don't understand where the credibility has come from. I mean, it's a random thing to come out with and say if you don't have information. It's a very specific claim. And it's a bit random to just come out with it now for no reason whatsoever if you don't know something. I just don't understand where that information would come from. It's possible, but I mean, I'm not seeing it, guys. I'm not seeing it. What do you think? Do you know that he's credible? Have you heard any other things? Do you believe it? Do you believe it's credible? Huge is in the house saying good morning, good morning. Everybody else must have gone for their morning nap because you've all gone quiet in the chat. So let me just move on since nobody's interested. But for me, it's a case of, while I don't necessarily fully 100% believe the credibility of this report, or I don't necessarily think we should just believe it because somebody says it on the internet. We know what I think about that. I have also seen people saying, because he specifically said it would be 60 points and that it would be out before the end of this season. Now, that doesn't say if the 60 points would be deducted this season. It says that it would be announced this season. But people then have sort of said, well, if they do it this season, that could impact Arsenal, because Arsenal are in a title race with them. There's a potential, because they still have to play each other, that the gap might shorten, and some people believe that City might still pose a threat, and that if they get this deduction, Arsenal would win the league, but it would be like with an asterisk. They've won the league, but City got the points deduction, and maybe City would have caught them. So that obviously does have an impact, and if you're Arsenal, you want to win because you're the best. You don't want to win because the only sort of competition you have got a big deduction. What other people don't really seem to be talking about is, if this was true, if they did lose these points this season, that would leave them on 1 point, okay? That would have an enormous impact on the relegation battle. Never mind Arsenal, because Arsenal are probably going to win the league anyway. But it has a very genuine impact on the relegation battle. So we looked last night at which teams we think will be relegated. We looked at the matches, we looked at the points, we looked at the potential outcomes, and we kind of said, look, it's going to be between West Ham and Spurs. However, if this deduction was actually implemented, if this guy is right, if Cesar is right, and this happens, it might actually mean that Spurs survives this season. It might mean West Ham survives this season. This might make the difference in the survival in the Premier League of one of these clubs that are in the relegation battle. Never mind Arsenal, who can still win. It's completely in their favour. But what about the teams in the relegation battle who are probably looking at this and praying, lighting candles, going, please give them the 60 points deduction this season? If you are in charge of Spurs, you're going, for the love of goodness, please give them the 60 point deduction. This could save our season. So it would have an enormous knock-on effect. Absolutely enormous. So if you're those teams, you're hoping this is right. If you're one of those teams in that relegation fight, you are hoping and praying with all your heart that this report is accurate. But it'd be crushing if it's not, because it could literally change not just this season, but next season for those teams and their fans. Luke is saying just relegate them. Huge is saying if they are proven guilty, we should sue. They falsified financial documents, which is a fraud, I think. So look, I think there could be repercussions afterwards depending what it comes out with. But I think people discuss the impact it would have on the title race in Arsenal. Nobody's really discussing the impact it could have on the teams down below, the teams in relegation, not just for this season, but for next season, which is enormous. Imagine this deduction is given and it's the reason that Spurs survived this season. That would be insane. That would be absolutely insane. And Jenny's kind of with me. Jenny's saying, honestly, I don't believe it. And to be fair, while I wanted to just mention the impact it could have if it was true on those teams, I do think for me at this moment in time, I don't know if I believe it's credible because there's nothing to tell me why it's credible. There's nothing concrete saying to me why we should believe Cesar and why Cesar would have this information before and above everybody else. Maybe he does and he has fantastic sources, but as of right now, I'm with Jenny. I don't know if I believe it. The reason I wanted to touch on it at all was because, first of all, there's so many people talking about it. There's so much noise over it. It's a football channel. It's a bit weird if I don't mention it at all. But this is why I'm doing it at the end of a show of something else, because for me, it's out there. We'll mention it. I wanted to mention how much it would impact the teams in relegation, because it seems to be, while everyone's talking about the topic, nobody's talking about the impact it would have on those teams. And that's what I mean when I said in the title, like, would punishing City punish others? So, like, if you punish City, but you don't do it till next season, you're punishing the teams in the bottom three this season. Are you punishing Arsenal because they don't get to say, well, we won this league fair and square? If you break it down over several years, are you punishing the other teams that'll be in the top 5 race for those years, because then Man City would be kind of battling there? Depending what way they go about it, it might actually impact multiple other teams, and I do think they need to take that into account when they're dishing out the punishment. It's going to have a knock-on effect on other teams no matter what you do. So they need to look at that as well. And again, like, Flossie is kind of with me and Jenny saying it's online speculation and rumours. And I think at the end of it all, that's where I fall on it. Until something concrete comes out and says, this is the information, this is where this information has come from, and we can see why it's accurate, I agree with Flossie and Jenny. I think it's speculation, I think it's a guess, and I can't find, and I've specifically looked, I can't find any information on why this man would know before everyone else. So, as I said, I wanted to touch on it because it's a football channel and it's a big thing in the football world at the minute, but I didn't want to do a whole video on it because for me, I don't set much in store by it, is basically where I'm at. But yeah, the international potential injuries, that'll be interesting to see how many of them are injured when the season restarts. If it's small niggles, they'd be recovered anyway, even if they were genuine. I'll be very interested to see how that goes. Obviously we don't even know how long Madueke's going to be out for, and he was the one in the brace, so I think that'll be very, very interesting as well. But yeah, I think that is us for this afternoon, lads. We've talked about all of the things we need to talk about, so I think we'll round it off there. I think I'm due another cup of tea, keep my day going on a Sunday, a nice Sunday afternoon cup of tea. So thank you all very much for being here. Thank you all very much for getting involved, for spending a part of your day with me. Flossie, correct and right. Too many in the nose speculating. Agree. Agree, 100%. But I will see you all later, folks. I will be back live at 7 p.m. this evening. I will hopefully see you all then. Have a lovely rest of your Sunday. Smash a like if you haven't done so already. And I will catch you all then. Have a good one, folks.